Monday, September 28th. We're in Ottawa at the book launch of Who Owns the Arctic by Michael Byers from the University of British Columbia, and Dr. Byers is here with us. And I had some questions I wanted to ask based on some of what of the little talk that you gave. You've said that cooperation has got to be the frame for dealing with Arctic sovereignty issues. Why do you say that?
Well, we have very many challenges in the world today, many of which are seemingly intractable. The issue of the conflict in the Middle East, for instance, or the challenges relating to development in much of the global south. These big challenges require international cooperation, and we don't need another set of disputes to exacerbate the situation. Instead, we should recognize that the Arctic is a laboratory for cooperation. It's a way in which we can learn to work together with, among others, our former Cold War adversary, Russia. The Arctic is largely unpopulated. Obviously, there are Inuit and other indigenous peoples there, but the population is relatively low. It involves only 5 Arctic Ocean coastal states, all of which are relatively advanced. And there is a sense that the Arctic has not yet been the focal point for conflict, and therefore it is more easily steered in the direction of no more conflict in the future. For all these reasons, I think there's a real opportunity for Canada to take the lead in the promotion of cooperation through proactive diplomacy, reaching out to our neighbors like Denmark, Russia, and the United States, working together with the Inuit to integrate them into decision making with regards to the Arctic. There's so much that could be done with some imagination and political will. Canada is an Arctic country. 40% of our territory is in the Arctic. We have a very significant future there, and we need to engage with it in a constructive way.
You mentioned a disconnect between Canada's Arctic policy, its social policy in the north, and the reality on the ground. Can you tell me just a bit about that?
Yes, governments like to engage with the issue of Arctic sovereignty before election campaigns. It's an issue that resonates with Canadians in the southern parts of this country. But their engagement tends to focus on promises concerning military hardware, building armed heavy icebreakers, developing a cold weather training center for the Canadian forces, and tends to overlook the slightly more than 100,000 people who live in Canada's 3 northern territories, many of them Indigenous, and many of them with levels of social and economic welfare that can only be categorized as developing world level. In Nunavut, for instance, only 25% of children graduate from high school. There's an acute housing crisis. There is endemic tuberculosis, 40% diabetes rate, truly disturbing conditions. And yet these people, the Inuit, are a central part of our sovereignty claims. We rely on the thousands of years of their use and occupancy of the land and the sea ice. And so I would like to see Canadian politicians focus on the social and economic dimension, work with the Inuit, realize that they have given us so much, and it's time to repay our debt to them by raising their standards of education, of health, of housing to the same level that Canadians across the country expect.
Climate change is having an incredibly huge impact on the Arctic as well as on the entire world, of course. And with the conference in Copenhagen coming up, tell me just a little bit about what you see as the opportunity and the real dangers here if Canada can't act on the opportunity.
Yeah. Well, Canada's on the front lines of climate change. The 40% of this country that is in the Arctic is almost melting away as the sea ice melts, as the permafrost melts, as entire ecosystems are overturned. And we're also on the front lines in terms of being one of the very worst per capita emitters of greenhouse gases. You, me, and the other 33 million Canadians, and our corporations and our governments. And that needs to change. We're both one of the principal per capita drivers of climate change, and we're bearing the brunt of the consequences. And so we need to engage with the climate change crisis through exercising the political and economic leadership we are capable of exercising. We never forget that Canada has the 8th largest economy in the world. Never forget that for decades we acquired huge reservoirs of soft power, of reputational weight as a progressive, proactive country. We need to take all of our diplomatic and economic resources and partner with the European Union, partner with countries like Australia, and yes, the United States of Barack Obama, to secure a meaningful deal in Copenhagen. Not just empty words, but something that will actually save the planet for future generations.
Do you have any hope that this can happen?
Well, we have no choice. So it's not a question of hope. It's a simple reality. We only have one planet Earth. We have to stop climate change. There is no plan B. So I can't contemplate anything other than success on this issue. If we fail, we will be letting our children and grandchildren down in the most serious of ways.
Thank you very much, Michael Byers.
Thank you.
Wonderful. Very helpful.
Good. It's a pleasure.
Good luck with the book. Good luck with your work. You're doing great stuff.
I'll have to do our best.
I'll send you a link to the article once it's up.